Lean into the suck for a minute. Lean into whatever's going on that's hard. Lean into the fact that your mom is sick while you're trying to make payroll. You're not sure how you're going to do it. And that you've got employees that you're struggling with. Maybe your marriage is in a bad spot. Lean into that and go ahead and blame everyone else. I'm a huge fan of this. I want you to put 5 minutes on the clock, blame the government, blame your parents, blame your coworkers, your spouse. Just have just the best 5 minute pity party of your life. Throw things. I love throwing things. It's so cathartic. Don't throw things at people. Don't do this with other people. Don't yell at anyone. Get those emotions out. Because one of the things that our society is so big on is like, you should be positive. Katie, you need to be positive. Let's be positive. Be positive. That is so toxic when all you want to do is cry and be upset. Those emotions are telling you something, and it's important that you listen to them.
What's up, you beautiful beasts? I'm Katie. I'm on a mission to help humans become their favorite versions of themselves and to strive for overall health by healing their relationship to food and exercise, healing their relationship to their body, and most importantly, healing their relationship to themselves, all without ever having to step on a scale. I have had the privilege to talk to all kinds of different humans who have been through a plethora of experiences just being a human and existing. I believe that every single time someone shares their story, at least one person listening will learn from it, be inspired by it, and maybe, just maybe, even change the entire direction of their life. These are the stories of humans unveiling their beautiful beast. Keep listening. This is the Unveiling the Beast podcast. Well, welcome to the Unveiling the Beast podcast. Can you tell the listeners a little bit about who you are and why you think you are who you are?
Yes. Oh my goodness. Thank you so much for having me. My name is Emily Hawkins, and I'm a fractional COO for small businesses, mainly brick and mortar businesses all over the US. I'm based in Atlanta, Georgia, but pretty much every business I work with is somewhere else. I do have a couple local businesses, but for the most part, I help businesses all over the country, and I help them streamline their teams, their systems, their processes, and really what people care about, because all of that makes people usually fall asleep, is that I help you keep more money in your business. Because most of us, our businesses are like how do I describe this? Like when you're boiling pasta and you put it in the strainer, you want the water to come out because you want to eat the pasta, but you don't want the pasta to come out. Well, a lot of businesses have some of their pasta coming out. And so I help them really plug those holes and keep more pasta so that they can actually have a good meal.
I love that. And so how did this come about for you?
So when I was in college, which was a long time ago, but when I was in college, I really thought I was supposed to be an accountant until I took accounting classes and was humbled and realized I don't enjoy debits and credits. I thought that it was numbers, and I love numbers and playing with numbers. Well, my friends, there are 1,000 ways of doing that other than debits and credits. And my brother was actually at the same university that I was at, and he was a stats major. And he said, in my statistics major, I have to have a logistics class. And I was like, what is that? So he said, well, it's still in the business school, so go check it out. So it is literally finding the fastest, cheapest way to move people, create processes. It's literally what I do. It's operations. And I had no idea that this was a thing. And that class set me on a path. And I've been doing it ever since. And it's been over 20 years. I know I look like I'm 12, but I was not Doogie Howser when I
Well,
went to
I was going to say 19, but I mean, forgive me.
Exactly. So yes, I was somewhat of a Doogie Howser. No, just kidding. Uh, I've been doing it for 20 years, so 15 in the corporate world, and actually a little bit, almost 8 years as my own business. And what I love doing it as my own business is that I'm actually able to help more and different types of businesses with my skill set that can't afford a full-time COO. So if you were in the corporate world and you hear the title COO, you know this person's probably making a couple $1 million a year. Well, a small business can't afford that. And one of the reasons they can't afford it is because they're losing money in ways they didn't know they were losing it. So it's sort of this double-edged sword, if you will. And so what I'm able to do by fractionalizing my time, I'm able to work with these businesses that really need my help at, well, a fraction of the cost.
Hmm. And so how can this affect? I'm trying to find a way to tie this in because this is a health podcast.
Uh-huh.
And how would this tie into, say, like the health of the
Mhm.
owner of the companies that you work with, for example?
I love that you brought this up
Hmm.
because one of the things I saw in the corporate world was horrible, horrible health habits. So I had my own COO. Actually, shortly after I left the organization to open my own business, he died of a heart attack. And
Mm,
he was only 53. He was very young. And that was not the only boss that was the situation. Pretty much every boss that I had in the corporate world, in some way, shape, or form, if they were successful, and I'm using air quotes, had health issues. And it was because there was this talked about, not nobody says it, but it's like you're supposed to sacrifice your health for this. And I have never agreed with that. I believe that you truly need work-life balance. You can have it all, maybe not all at the same time,
hmm.
but you're supposed to be able to have it all. And I work out every single day, 5 to 6 days a week, I should say. And I also eat very healthy. And the reason is because my energy is so much better. I feel better mentally and physically. And I realized that these corporate guys that were doing all these amazing things were not addressing this other part that was such a huge factor of success. And so my goal when I work with businesses, and it happens every day, is that we find time first. And in those pockets of time, we start injecting time for some leisure time, some exercise time. Almost every single person I work with, we talk about movement. And what I love the most is that when these businesses start seeing success, almost every business owner has lost weight as well because the two are directly correlated. And here's the
Hmm.
thing. You can tell somebody that they need to lose weight. You can tell somebody that they need to eat healthier. But what if I also shared with you, and I do with every business owner, that you will think faster, you will be more creative, you will be more patient, you won't have these crazy mood swings. There's so many things that food and exercise can cure that we're sitting on the answer and it's not that expensive. And if I'm looking at it from an operations perspective, the thing that I love most about operations is we're not looking for the one thing. It's all connected.
Hmm.
So I focus on the first thing most people say is they don't have time. So we look at where they're spending their time and we find how to alleviate that. And then from there, now that they have some breathing room, we can talk more holistically about how they are the problem. FYI, every business owner is the problem. I'm a business owner. I'm the problem. I am the bottleneck. Exactly, right? We're all raising our hands.
Yeah.
It is so freeing when you are the problem because you can fix you. Katie, if you were the problem and you worked for me, that's actually very disempowering because
Hmm.
I can't fix you, if you will. I think that that term is hilarious in and of itself, but
Right. Thank you
nine
for
times,
saying that.
yeah. I think fixing people is like, I don't know how you do that exactly. Uh,
Right.
but I do believe if there was a situation where, let's say, you weren't performing, well, how am I contributing to that? What is my issue? So again, when they start to see this, they start to see how their decisions affect everything in their lives, their marriages. I love when they come to me and tell me their marriages are better. Like, of course they are. Relationships with their children because they're actually spending time with them now. And
Hmm.
then back to what you're saying, the health aspect of it, they're sleeping better. And when you sleep better, you're going to be more productive. And so it all feeds on itself in a really positive way. But I don't start day one saying, let's lose weight or let's get healthier because that's not what they came to me for. They came for, I think I'm losing money in my business. I've got a team that sucks. I hear this all the time. Nobody wants to work, and there aren't enough hours in the day. Help me. That's where we start. So it's kind of all over. It's amazing to me how when somebody sees their power, how it truly can affect every aspect of their
Hmm.
life.
Yeah. And I love this idea that you're talking about, like everything is connected. Um, in my the way I teach health and the way I coach clients is that health is not just what we eat and how we move. It's how much sleep are you getting? Are you healing from past traumas from when you were 5 years old and somebody took your bicycle? Are you what do your spaces look like around you? Is your space cluttered and therefore your mind is cluttered, or vice versa? Is your mind cluttered and therefore your spaces are cluttered? Are you doing stress relief and self-care? So it's not just what we eat and how we move is important, but that's just like the tiniest piece of the pie, right?
Mhm.
It's all the other things. And as you were saying, the sleep piece is kind of like the blanket over everything. How much sleep are you getting? Because that's going to affect everything in your life.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. 100%. I love everything you just said because it's absolutely true. I mean, it's so funny how we've boiled it down to eating and exercising when you're right. That's such a small piece to it all.
Yeah. Like even things like socioeconomic status is a factor in your health. Like, do you have access to healthcare? That's all part of the health bubble that everybody's striving for, and everybody's also striving for the piece in the health bubble that's the least important, and that's what your body looks like. And so, yeah, just this idea that you're talking about, that everything's connected, and then you can expand that, like you can take this health bubble and then throw it into the whole business piece, and where does this bubble fit with all the other business bubbles?
Yeah.
It's spaghetti and noodles.
100%, 100%. And I have yet to meet a super successful business owner that is not somehow taking care of themselves. And I have to say, when I say super successful, I mean sustainably super successful,
Mhm.
not fly by night. Oh my gosh, I made a bunch of money and, in a Ponzi scheme or something like that. The exact opposite. They're usually in great shape. They're usually very present in the moment. They're not scattered.
Mhm.
And they're also really happy. And I want to talk about happiness for a minute as
Yeah.
well. I love that you talked about childhood trauma. Not that I love childhood trauma, but so many of us are carrying it around with us and we don't realize when it comes up. And uh, in what I do, we also go into that because it's like, where did you learn this behavior? Avoiding conflict with your team.
Mhm.
I think that, shouldn't have like a huge conflict every day, but there actually does need to be healthy tension there because that's where ideas come from. So how do we hold tension in a constructive way. And a lot of business owners struggle with that because either they were told as children that that was wrong, they shouldn't have an opinion, they don't deserve that, or everything needs to be highly combative. So no one on the team wants to talk or have an opinion because they don't want to be combative with the owner.
Mm.
And so understanding that and realizing, well, that might be how you were raised, but we can really unravel this and make it whatever you want. It's beautiful watching people become who they were put here to be, because that's really what it is.
Yeah. Yeah. That's their beast.
You got it. You got it. It's like you should start a podcast about this or something.
Oh, right. So in this business piece of making sure that the business owner is taking care of themselves in all
Mm-hmm.
the aspects. And I should add for the listeners, you don't want to try to do it all at the same time because then you'll be overwhelmed and you'll quit.
I
But
was just about to say
yeah,
that. Yes,
yeah,
yes, yes,
like one thing at a time.
yes.
So in all of this, how can you, I'm trying to find a way to word it to where it passes on to their employees.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm trying to say?
Yes,
So like
100%.
how do you like first take care of them and then have them pass it on to their people so that their
Yes.
people don't feel left behind or overworked or overwhelmed or
Yep.
all of the above?
So I have to get them to take it down a notch. And typically, the best way to do that is by giving them a series of questions. And these questions they have to ask their team. Now, it sounds bizarre, but most business owners suck at listening unless they're like sustainably successful. They're really great at assuming. And assuming is the death of more businesses because I read this study that I just found fascinating that even the people that think they are amazing at assumption suck at assumption. Everyone is bad at assuming. We are, I think it was like 95% of the time, our assumptions are wrong. And if you think about it, I start a lot of conversations with, I assume, because I want people to know, like, this is where my brain is, and it seems really obvious. 9 times out of 10, they're correcting me by the end of the sentence, right? They're like,
Yeah.
oh, yeah, no, we don't do it that way. We blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, exactly. That is exactly why I brought it up, because it seems basic and it's not.
Yeah. I
Um,
think I started that with you. I assume you're a coach.
right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So I have them talk to their team in these 7 questions. And the reason they're only allowed to ask the 7 questions, they're not allowed to add anything else because it's not in their nature. But
Mm,
I also know that as soon as they go through this exercise, if they have at least 2 employees, that's all that really matters here. But most of the companies I work with have a few more than that. They do this with at least 2 different people, their minds explode because they realize they were sitting on so many assumptions about their people, about Carol's lazy. Sarah doesn't care. Sarah's completely disengaged. Well, when they get into these questions and they're sitting there and they're just asking questions and they're leaving room for silence, what happens in those moments is trust builds. Because if you are not chronically inserting yourself and saying, well, Katie, what you should be doing is blah, blah, blah. Well, here's what I think you should do. Oh, let me build you a spreadsheet for that. Sometimes people don't need that. They just need you to sit in the suck with them. You just need to sit with them for just a minute. When you do this, everyone's blood pressure goes down. Everyone.
mm,
Because we're seeing each other for who we truly are. And that's what matters most. But in order for this to build off of, you can't just have a conversation with someone and be like, it's done. Like, you're married. Your husband, I'm pretty sure on your wedding day, you told him that you loved him. But I don't know how long you guys have been married, but I'm pretty sure you've told him, oh, okay, 10 years. So You've told him probably a few more times since your wedding day that you love him.
Yes.
And if you didn't, everyone would think that was a little strange, right? It's like, well, of course you say that. Like, of course you tell your child you love them. You
Hmm.
tell anyone that you care about that you love them, that you care about them, that they mean something to you. And yet, somehow we forget this with our employees. We forget that we have to reiterate that they matter, that you see them, that you care about them, and that you love them. And I think where we get this wrong, and it goes back to health too, right?
Hmm.
Success means you should sacrifice your health. Success means that you should drive hard, and be crazy bad with your employees. Just yell at them and you should get this done. You should get this right. That's worked with no one ever. And it's actually quite the opposite. When you create a safe space for people, they open up to you. They share more with you. They work harder for you.
Hmm.
And if you take this amazing conversation that you're having and you change things about yourself based on what they say and maybe the building, I mean, it could be, gosh, a great example is exactly what just happened, right? Your son is not feeling well. We as mothers know, I got to go. I got to go get my kid. And his school is an hour away. Well, let's pretend for a second that you were my employee and I didn't know that your son's school was an hour away. And you said, I'm going to leave work. I'll be back. I've got to go pick up my son. My
Hmm.
assumption is that's like a 20, maybe 30-minute thing, right? Because I'm
Hmm.
assuming that you're going to drive to the school, pick him up, drive him home to a grandparent's, wherever, and you'll need like 5 or 10 minutes there, and then you'll be back. I don't know that you have to drive an hour there, an hour back, and then situate him, right? It's not just like he just goes away. You have to
Right.
so let's say that I saw that you got back online later this evening to finish up work, right? Well, if I didn't know you, I had not had those conversations with you, and I didn't know that your son's school was far away, I might put you on a performance improvement plan. I might be just hard driving, like, hey, that deadline that I gave you about Friday, I think you're going to miss it because you missed most of Thursday. There's a lot of assumptions there, a
Yeah.
lot of assumptions. Not, oh my gosh, Katie, I know that your son's school's an hour away. I know we've got that big thing that's due tomorrow. How can I help you with that so that you can be with your son and that that's taken care of, but we also meet the deadline? Let me know what we need to shift around. And then you would probably say, you know what? I'm going to be gone for 2.5, 3 hours. I'm going to work on this tonight, but it's probably not going to be until like 9 or 10 p.m. Just know that I'm getting it. And if I have any trouble, I'll talk to you first thing in the morning about it. Now there's no assumption. We all understand ourselves. And what's so funny is that simple conversation was just that. It was simple. There's
Yeah.
no, I don't believe that you have to do fancy retreats, give your team fancy things. If you want to, go for it, but it's not going to give you what you want. What you want and what they want are they want to be seen and heard. So if you just give them your time and you fully listen with your full attention, so many of your problems could be solved. It's
Yeah.
amazing.
I actually have a story um to kind of back that up, and I just want to like preface it with I'm not complaining. This is in the past, but the company that I worked for before I had my own practice, um, I was a shipping manager, and I had a crew of three dudes, which was fun because I always feel like one of the guys. But the company when I started, it was very family, like so understand. It was so cool to be there. And then as my time there, like the longer I was there, the more they became more like tight and less about us, the employees, and more about profits, which understandably a business's job is to make money, right?
Right.
But it seemed like as they were honing in on money, they forgot about the employees. And so it
Yeah.
was just this slow, gradual. I used to say it was toxic. I don't know if it was toxic, but I certainly didn't like going to work anymore. And so that energy was already there, and then they decided to make cuts. And so they sent the HR from Texas to California
Oh, wow.
to get rid of 9 people, including my entire crew. And they said, Katie can do it. And I checked out.
Yeah.
And all of the stuff I'd been doing to grow my coaching practice, like what I could do in the little time I had, that just went like that. And because I checked out, I was like, I'm done here. And then I think it was maybe 5 months later, I gave my notice and they were shocked. I'm like, are you shocked? Like,
Assumptions, my friend.
yeah, it's hold on, my green screen's being all weird. Um, it's like they started focusing so much on this thing that they forgot about everything else that was going on around them. And so even though they let people go, they actually ended up taking some of them back because they let go of too many people. But
I think I've worked for that company. I have seen this happen so many times where they try to squeeze out all the lean, like let's lean everything out. And here's where I am different, and this is why I really enjoy working with small businesses, is I believe that sometimes people do need to be let go, but not for the reasons that everything happened in your organization. They need to be let go because they're in the wrong position.
mhm,
And I also believe that sometimes we're not challenging our employees enough. And some of their complacency is because they're just not challenged enough and they could be doing more. Um, but to your point, if you put too much on a star, they will leave. They will
yep,
leave. You have given them absolutely no support. You have not asked or shared information about this is what's going down. What would help you? What would be the best decision? There was none of that. It was just talk about
you
not
can do it.
feeling seen or heard, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and I think the checking out piece came because I knew what I did for my job and I knew what each guy did for his job, and they wanted me to do all of it. And I knew that it was physically impossible. Even if I worked twice as hard, completely impossible. And I knew that, like, so what I did was just what I could, right?
Oh,
And I knew
exactly.
that eventually they'd be like, oh, yeah, we made a mistake because, they're not going to listen to me at first saying, I can't do this. Like, thank you for thinking I'm Superwoman, but I can't, it's physically impossible for me to do this. And that's what happened. So they let go of 2 of my crew and then they moved one of them to the back. Um, and so they're like, "Oh, Katie's not doing too well. I don't think she can handle this." So they brought somebody back to help me, but I was like, I was already done by then. So I'm like,
Mhm.
"Thanks, but bye."
Yeah, you
Yeah.
didn't respect me or care. And it's amazing. I mean, so many organizations do that. Boeing is a great example of this. So Boeing used to
Mm,
be very much of a family organization. Everyone loved everyone. It was all about innovation. They cared very much about being innovative. The reason I'm using this word and care very much about it is because with innovation comes mistakes. And with innovation comes a lot of experimenting. And if you're not doing some of those things on a daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly basis, your company will not grow. And so what happened was they started to cut off their nose to spite their face, and they only looked at the bottom line. An engineer that was originally a part of the team that started questioning things because they're a part of this innovative thing, and that's what you do when you innovate is you constantly question. They were either told to leave or they were told to shut up. And that's not an environment I want to be a part of because what ended up happening was They cared so much about the dollar that that they wouldn't let people question things, that there were a series of plane crashes that came down to faulty, it was mechanics, like the plane design was poor, but nobody could say anything because it went against everything the company was about, which is saving money. And I am all for saving money. I love it. I think it's so important because I see so much waste in businesses,
Mm-hmm.
but it's rarely the people, right? It's the process that's been put in place. It's the systems that they're using. It's something, and like I said, it's the owner's franticness. That energy trickles down and it affects everyone around you. My husband and I were talking about this yesterday, actually. I have blood pressure like I'm dead. So when I go to the doctor, it's like, let me retake this because this doesn't seem right. My husband, chronic high blood pressure. Like he has always had high blood pressure. Now, if he's doing everything perfectly right, it goes down slightly, but it's still high. And so I was telling him the only time in my life that my blood pressure was slightly elevated, and it was actually like hypertension level, was when I had a boss that did not see and hear me. Everything was on this man's timeline. Anything I did had to be checked, rechecked, quadruple checked. I couldn't get on a phone with a client. He had to be in the room with me. I mean, no power, no, I felt so disempowered, for lack of a better word. And
Yeah.
my body told me, my body's like, let's get out of here. This man is going to slowly kill you. So
Yeah. I love how you said I have blood pressure like I'm dead.
it's true. It's so
Yeah.
low. It's so, so low, except in that situation. So I was glad to
Mm,
be out of it. And I really want to make sure that every business that I work with, that their employees and themselves sees that they don't have to be that way.
yeah. So if there were any like general tips you could give to a business owner that might be listening to this podcast,
Yeah.
what would they be?
Well, the first one is stop for just a second. Take a few deep breaths and then lean into the suck for a minute. Lean into whatever's going on that's hard. Lean into the fact that your mom is sick while you're trying to make payroll, you're not sure how you're going to do it, and that you've got employees that you're struggling with. Maybe your marriage is in a bad spot. Lean into that and go ahead and blame everyone else. I'm a huge fan of this. I want you to put 5 minutes on the clock, blame the government, blame your parents, blame your coworkers, your spouse. Just have just the best 5 minute pity party of your life. Throw things. I love throwing things. It's so cathartic. Don't throw things at people. Don't do this with other people. Don't yell at anyone. Another really effective thing to do is write an email. You're not going to put anything in the subject line or you're not going to send it to anyone. You can put whatever you want in the subject, but don't send it to anyone. Get those emotions out. Because one of the things that our society is so big on is like, you should be positive. Katie, you need to be positive. Let's be positive. Be positive. Yes, exactly. Positive, positive, positive. That is so toxic when all you want to do is cry and be upset. I sit with business owners and hold space for a lot of tears. And it's so important because all of that, just like that high blood pressure was telling me, like, get out of the situation, right? Those emotions are telling you something. They are leading you down a path. And it's important that you listen to them because they're telling you where to go. And 9 times out of 10, when I do this with people and we do it together, and they're always apologizing, and I'm like, never apologize to me about crying. I think crying is so wonderful. 9 times out of 10, when they fully lean into it, they come out of it with so much more clarity and so much more, oh man, I've really been making a big deal out of this. And it's really not about that. Like there's some sort of epiphany that comes out of leaning into and embracing the crap in our lives. Um,
Hmm.
you were mentioning that you have a son, and my daughter, when she was your son's age, we were in COVID. That was super fun.
Mm.
And I was her teacher. Oh, nobody wants that. Like I am a coach for many things, but second grade is not one of them, especially math. Like I love math, but the way we do math nowadays, no. So anyway, the only way I knew to teach her was to sit and watch the little videos that she had to watch and do the homework with her because everything is so different. So we're sitting on the couch one day and I'm questioning all things like, is this what my life is now? I'm a second grade teacher. And we watch a video on how seeds grow. And seeds, like you can get seeds at the store. The reason they don't grow is because they're not in the right environment. The right environment
Okay.
for a seed to grow is moisture, warmth, like sunlight, and you've got to have fertile ground. Like it's got to have some sort of fertile something to be in. So I was like, huh, I'd kind of forgotten that. And then this little cartoon that we're watching, this horse comes up and eats an apple off an apple tree and then proceeds to poop it out. And I was like, what is this video? This is like hilarious. And they said, many animals, it was something like animals aren't like people. They don't slice up their things and take the seeds out, right? They just eat the whole thing. Well, when they do that, where does it go? And so again, shows it pooping. Then it talks about this is the greatest place for seeds to grow. Why is it the greatest place? Because it's moist, it's fertile, it's warm, it's going to get some sunlight, and then it shows all these plants growing. And I was like, hold the phone. I now understand so many things about life. When we are put in the biggest crap in our lives, when we're dealing with the most crap, is when we grow the most. And now I look at every opportunity when I feel like the world is coming in on me. Oh, wow, look at me. I'm going to get to grow in some way that I never saw possible. So that little second grade video during COVID just changed my life.
I love that. Never, and you probably would have never thought that a horse pooping would change your life.
Nope. One of my clients
Amazing.
actually was like, so are you telling me to go poop in my backyard? And I was like, that is not at all what I want you to do. So
Yeah. Sit in your shit is what I want you to do.
amen. That's
Yeah.
exactly and
Sit in your shit.
realize that it's exactly where you need to be to grow the most. And the more shit that's around you, then that just means you're going to just grow so much more. And speaking of
Mhm.
somebody that has sat in quite a bit of shit in my life. So
Is there anything that I did not ask you that you wanted me to ask you?
no, this was great. I just had fun
Okay.
talking with you and we had a good time. And um, if people want to figure out what is the thing that they should be working on, because we did talk about, a bunch of different things. And while it's all connected, and that's so wonderful, you can actually go to my website, which is Emily Hawkins, the number 4, the letter U.com. And you can go to scroll down the page and you will see the opportunity to take a quiz. I've got a couple quizzes on there, but one is what type of leader are you? The other one is diagnose what I should work on in my business. And I ask you 7 simple questions. You answer those questions, and then you get a PDF of the one area of your business that will cause the most growth and 3 ways in which this week you can create that. So that is what I want to offer to your audience because can be very overwhelming as a business owner to not know
Mm,
where to start. Um, and of course, it will lower your blood pressure just knowing there's just this one thing to work on.
yeah, I think I'll take it for myself too.
Most definitely.
Yeah. Um, I do have one more question for you. And you might have already answered it, so I'm going to ask it slightly differently, which I've
Okay.
never done before. You're the first. If the entire world just stopped what they were doing
Mm.
and looked at you, what piece of advice would you give them? If they were seeking advice and they just stopped and looked at you, what would you say?
Oh, I love this question so much. You are the answer. You have the answer and you have everything you need to give and love and you need to stop questioning every looking outside because you have everything you need right here. You are the answer. You are the answer. If I could look every single person in the eye, that's what I would say to them. You are the answer. My daughter this morning mentioned something about, oh man, the world's just falling apart. And I said, right, I'm sure it is. I think it could be on any given day. I think I've heard this my entire life that the world is falling apart. So it's up to us to save it. And she rolled her eyes because she's 12. She rolled her eyes and I was like, but really, it's true. Each of us has this power and this divinity and this gift inside of us that we choose on a daily basis to cover up because we're afraid of what other people might think. Let it shine and we grow everyone around us.
Beautiful Beasts, Emily Hawkins, signing off. Until next time.